After using my John Deere in the garden all summer, now that fall's here, I put my deck back on to suck up leaves. And like many of you, you're probably doing the same thing this time of year. So what I'm going to do real quick is show you how to level this deck front to back and side to side so that you get not only an even cut, but you're not dragging your gauge wheels and digging up your lawn. Your lawn's tender this time of year. And make sure that your edges here aren't digging into the dirt. So join me for about 10 minutes and I'm going to show you how to do this yourself. The first thing you need to do is check the tire pressure in both front and rear tires, because if you don't have these set to their correct pressure, you're going to be messed up before you even get started. The correct pressure for this particular tractor is 14 in the front and 10 in the rear, and I just checked them and they're not quite right. So I'm going to go inflate these to the proper pressure and then I'll be back. If you don't know what the proper pressure for your tractor is, oftentimes it's written on the side of the tire. You'll see it says max pressure, or you can refer to your owner's manual. Once your air pressure is set, I like to be on a nice cement floor, something that's quasi-level, so at least I'm working at a good spot to begin with. You want to take your gauge wheels and use a little spring latch here, and you want to adjust your wheels so that they're up off the ground, and then you won't have those things interfering with you getting it leveled up. The next thing we're going to do once our tires are set to the proper inflation is we're going to raise our deck up either hydraulically or with a foot lift or whatever means that you have to lift the deck. Sometimes they have a lever still. After you've lifted it up, you want to set your deck at 2.5 inches, which on this tractor is straight up and down. And once I've set that, you go ahead and lower your deck hydraulically or mechanically down, and that'll set it at the stop that you want. The X-series tractors that I've encountered, underneath the seat there's two tools that you're going to need. One of them is this little deck leveling gauge, and also your wrench right here. This is what you're going to use to adjust the deck width. So with your leveling gauge, if you look on the decal, it shows you the locations of where you put this gauge to check. The first one goes right here under this. You see this bracket here, this yellow bracket? This is what your hanger hooks on, and this right here should slip underneath, but it does not. The second and third are the same on both sides. This is the left side, but the right side is exactly the same. When you feel along this rolled ridge right here, there's a little tip part of metal that kind of sticks up, and this should slide under there, and again it does not. Now this will work even if you have a bagging system. I have the blowout baffles on here. With your wrench, here's your transmission hump, as I like to call it. You'll see these two holes, one on each side. Well, this is the left adjustment, that's the right adjustment. So this would go in there until it mates. It might take a second to feel it go in, but you'll definitely feel it engage, and it's engaged at this point. So to lower it, we want to go left. To raise it, we want to go right. Alright, here's the part none of the other videos or anything on the internet that I could find tells you what to do when you get to this point. And that point is when your tractor is, what is this one? 9 years old now. And when I go to do the deck adjustment, nothing's happening. I can see the bolt turning in the trunnion, but nothing's happening. Well, the problem is that trunnion has a nut on the end of it, and in theory, when you turn your tool at the top of the deck, that nut will tighten on the trunnion, therefore raising the deck. And even if you put something under it to support it, like some people say, that doesn't help either, because now you've really loosened up the whole deal, and that nut is just spinning freely. So you're turning the bolt and the nut's turning and nothing's happening. So what you need is a 17mm wrench and maybe a buddy, but I don't have any buddies around, so you got to kind of do a circus act here. You got to kind of lay under the tractor, hold your box wrench up underneath, and then use the adjustment tool at the top. And that's going to take a little bit longer. And make the adjustment there. So it's a 17mm. Blowout baffles like this one does, you're not going to be able to get your gauge down where it belongs, but you can hold it alongside and then you can just eyeball it and see when it is where it's supposed to be. And then we'll come over and do the same on the other side. So again, here's your depth gauge. There's a notch back here where it belongs. Not quite there yet. Now this tool here, when it goes in, the bolt that you're actually going to mate with is at an angle like this, and it's just like nylon in there. And this tool right here is also made of pot metal, so you want to be careful with it, because what's going to happen is you'll round these edges off, or you'll destroy the nylon, and then the whole thing is garbage. So get that mated where you want it, and then take your 17. And there's no real good place to put your hands here, so yes, it is what it is, right? So try to get it the best you can, and then make sure that you're up on the nut, and then tighten up. There's a little spot right under the bracket that this slides in. Now this right here is way off now because I've lifted the back. So the way to fix the front is you need an 18 millimeter, and you're going to loosen the jam nut on the back and tighten the jam nut on the front. But you don't want to get too far on one side because you'll have the whole thing cockeyed. So like make 1 or 2 turns per side until you get it so that the little tool slips underneath. Go ahead and tighten this down until this slips under freely.